Let me tell you something that will completely change how you think about age and attraction. While most men spend their 30s and 40s panicking about getting older, worrying about gray hair and wrinkles, there's a select group of men who understand a fundamental truth that the dating industry doesn't want you to know. Age isn't your enemy, it's your secret weapon. And today, I'm going to reveal 7 scientifically backed habits that make older men not just attractive, but absolutely irresistible to women of all ages. Before we dive in, I need you to understand something crucial. Everything I'm about to share with you isn't based on pickup artist nonsense or motivational fluff. This is rooted in decades of evolutionary psychology research, studies from leading universities, and insights from world-renowned relationship experts like Dr. David Buss from the University of Texas, Dr. Helen Fisher from Rutgers University, and social psychologist Dr. Robert Cialdini. These aren't tricks or gimmicks. These are fundamental principles of human attraction that become exponentially more powerful as you age. The first habit that makes older men magnetically attractive is what I call strategic vulnerability. Now, before you roll your eyes and think this sounds like some touchy-feely nonsense, let me explain exactly what this means and why it works so powerfully. Dr. Brené Brown's research at the University of Houston has demonstrated that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the birthplace of courage, creativity, and change. But here's what most men get wrong about vulnerability. They think it means oversharing their problems or being an emotional wreck. That's not vulnerability. That's emotional dumping, and it's repulsive. Strategic vulnerability is about selectively sharing your authentic experiences, your growth, and your humanity in ways that create deep emotional connection. As an older man, you have something that younger guys simply cannot possess: a rich tapestry of experiences, failures, comebacks, and wisdom. When you strategically share stories about how you've overcome challenges, how you've learned from mistakes, how you've grown as a person, you're not just showing vulnerability. You're demonstrating resilience, emotional intelligence, and depth. Here's how this works in practice. Instead of pretending you're perfect or trying to impress with superficial achievements, you share meaningful moments of growth. You might tell a woman about a time when you failed at something important and what you learned from it. You might discuss how your perspective on relationships has evolved over the years. You might share a moment when you had to show real courage in your life. This isn't about seeking sympathy or appearing weak. It's about showing that you're a complex, evolving human being who has the wisdom that only comes with experience. The evolutionary psychology behind this is fascinating. Dr. David Buss's research shows that women are attracted to men who display both strength and emotional intelligence. Strategic vulnerability demonstrates both simultaneously. You're showing that you're strong enough to be honest about your humanity and emotionally intelligent enough to share appropriately. This creates what researchers call emotional safety, one of the most powerful attractors in human relationships. The second habit is what I call purposeful leadership, and this is where older men have an absolutely massive advantage that most don't even realize they possess. Leadership isn't about being bossy or controlling. True leadership is about having a clear vision for your life and inspiring others to be part of that vision. As an older man, you've had time to figure out what truly matters to you. You've likely moved beyond the superficial goals of your 20s and developed a deeper sense of purpose. Dr. Simon Sinek's research on leadership demonstrates that people don't follow what you do. They follow why you do it. Your why becomes more refined and powerful with age. Maybe you've discovered a passion for mentoring younger professionals. Maybe you've developed a commitment to health and fitness that goes beyond vanity. Maybe you've found a cause or mission that genuinely drives you. This sense of purpose is incredibly attractive because it signals several things to women: stability, direction, and the ability to lead not through force, but through inspiration. Here's what this looks like in practice. You're not just going through the motions of life, you have clear goals, values, and directions. When you talk about your work, your hobbies, your interests, there's a palpable sense of intention behind them. You're not doing things because you're supposed to or because society expects it. You're doing them because they align with your values and contribute to your larger vision for your life. The biological basis for this attraction is rooted in what evolutionary psychologists call resource potential. But it's not just about money or material resources. Dr. Helen Fisher's brain imaging studies show that women are attracted to men who demonstrate the ability to provide stability and security. In the modern world, this translates to emotional stability, life direction, and the ability to lead a household or relationship with wisdom and purpose. The third habit is continuous intellectual growth. And this is where older men can absolutely dominate the attraction landscape. While younger men are often focused on external validation and showing off, older men who embrace continuous learning become infinitely more interesting and attractive. This isn't about trying to keep up with the latest trends or pretending to be something you're not. This is about genuine intellectual curiosity and growth. Dr. Carol Dweck's groundbreaking research on mindset at Stanford University shows that people with a growth mindset, those who believe abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work, are more resilient, more interesting, and more attractive to others. As an older man, you have the advantage of perspective. You can pursue learning, not because you have to, but because you want to. You can explore subjects that genuinely fascinate you without the pressure of grades or career advancement. This might mean learning a new language, studying history, exploring philosophy, diving deep into a craft or skill, or staying current with developments in your field not out of necessity, but out of genuine interest. The key is that this learning is visible and infectious. When you're genuinely excited about something you're learning or exploring, that enthusiasm becomes magnetic. The science behind this is rooted in what psychologists call intellectual humility and cognitive flexibility. Studies from the University of California show that people who demonstrate intellectual humility, the ability to acknowledge what they don't know and remain open to new information, are perceived as more trustworthy, more competent, and more attractive. As an older man, you can afford to be intellectually humble because you're not trying to prove yourself anymore. You're genuinely interested in learning and growing. The fourth habit is what I call calibrated confidence, and this is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of attraction as it relates to age. Confidence is attractive, but there's a specific type of confidence that becomes available to you as you get older that is absolutely irresistible. It's not the brash, untested confidence of youth. It's not the insecure overcompensation of men who are afraid of aging. It's the quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from truly knowing yourself. Dr. Albert Bandura's research on self-efficacy at Stanford University demonstrates that true confidence comes from competence and experience. As an older man, you've faced challenges, overcome obstacles, and proven to yourself that you can handle whatever life throws at you. This creates a deep, unshakable confidence that doesn't need to be proven or displayed. It simply exists. This type of confidence shows up in subtle but powerful ways. You're comfortable with silence. You don't feel the need to fill every pause in conversation with nervous chatter. You can disagree without being disagreeable. You can receive criticism without becoming defensive. You can give compliments without expecting anything in return. You can walk into a room without needing to be the center of attention, but somehow you naturally command respect anyway. The evolutionary psychology here is straightforward. Women are attracted to men who can provide security and stability. Calibrated confidence signals that you've been tested by life and emerged stronger. It suggests that you can handle the challenges that come with a serious relationship or family. It indicates emotional regulation and maturity. But here's the crucial distinction. This isn't arrogance or cockiness. Those are actually signs of insecurity. Calibrated confidence is marked by humility, authenticity, and genuine self-assurance. You know your strengths and acknowledge your weaknesses without shame or defensiveness. You're comfortable being wrong because your sense of self isn't tied to being perfect. The fifth habit is sophisticated emotional regulation, and this is where the research gets really interesting. Dr. John Gottman's decades of research on relationships at the University of Washington shows that emotional regulation is one of the strongest predictors of relationship success. As an older man, you have access to emotional regulation abilities that younger men simply haven't had time to develop. This doesn't mean you don't feel emotions intensely. It means you've learned to experience emotions without being controlled by them. You've learned the difference between feeling angry and acting angrily. You understand that initial emotional reactions aren't always accurate or helpful. You've developed the ability to pause, reflect, and respond rather than simply react. This emotional regulation shows up in incredibly attractive ways. When faced with stress, you don't panic or lash out. You assess the situation calmly and take appropriate action. When dealing with conflict, you don't resort to yelling or passive-aggressive behavior. You address issues directly but respectfully. When experiencing disappointment, you don't spiral into self-pity or blame others. You process the emotion and move forward constructively. The neurological basis for this is fascinating. Brain imaging studies show that the prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function and emotional regulation, continues to develop into your 40s and beyond. This means that older men literally have better developed emotional regulation capabilities than younger men. You're not just more emotionally mature because of experience. Your brain is actually better equipped for emotional regulation. Women find this incredibly attractive because it signals several important things. You won't create unnecessary drama. You can handle the inevitable challenges that come with relationships. You're emotionally safe to be around, and you can provide a stabilizing influence in her life. The sixth habit is purposeful presence, and this is perhaps the most underrated attraction factor in our modern world. We live in an age of constant distraction, where most people are physically present, but mentally elsewhere. Older men who develop the ability to be truly present, to give their full attention to the person and moment in front of them, become magnetically attractive. Dr. Daniel Siegel's research on mindfulness and attention at UCLA demonstrates that the ability to be fully present is not just mentally healthy, it's profoundly attractive to others. When you're truly present with someone, you're giving them something incredibly rare and valuable, your complete attention. In a world where everyone is checking phones, thinking about the next thing, or mentally rehearsing what they're going to say next, genuine presence stands out dramatically. This presence manifests in specific, observable behaviors. When someone is talking to you, you're not thinking about what you're going to say next. You're actually listening to understand, not to respond. Your phone is put away and forgotten. You notice details about the person and the environment. You ask questions that show you're engaged. You remember things from previous conversations. The psychological principle at work here is what researchers call attentional focus. Studies show that people who receive focused attention from others experience increased feelings of value, importance, and connection. As an older man, you have the advantage of perspective. You understand that relationships are built in moments of connection, and you have the wisdom to prioritize these moments over distractions. But here's what makes this even more powerful. Purposeful presence isn't just about paying attention to others. It's about being fully engaged with your own life. You're not constantly thinking about the past with regret or the future with anxiety. You're genuinely engaged with what you're doing right now. This creates an energy and vitality that is incredibly attractive. The seventh and final habit is what I call legacy thinking. And this is perhaps the most uniquely powerful advantage that older men possess. Legacy thinking isn't about being morbid or dwelling on mortality. It's about having a longer-term perspective that allows you to make decisions based on what truly matters rather than what's immediately gratifying. Dr. Erik Erikson's research on developmental psychology identified generativity as a key developmental task of middle age. The desire to contribute to the next generation and leave a positive impact on the world. This generative thinking becomes incredibly attractive because it signals depth, wisdom, and the ability to think beyond immediate self-interest. Legacy thinking shows up in how you approach relationships, career, health, and personal growth. You're not just looking for immediate pleasure or validation. You're thinking about what kind of man you want to be remembered as. You're considering how your actions today will impact your future self and the people you care about. You're making decisions based on values rather than impulses. This manifests in incredibly attractive ways. You invest in your health not just to look good next month, but to be vital and energetic for decades to come. You approach relationships with the intention of building something meaningful and lasting rather than just having fun. You mentor others because you understand the value of passing on wisdom. You make financial decisions based on long-term security rather than immediate gratification. The evolutionary psychology behind this is profound. Women are attracted to men who can think long-term because it signals the ability to provide stability and security, not just now, but in the future. Legacy thinking demonstrates that you understand the bigger picture of life and relationships. But here's what ties all of these habits together. They're all based on the fundamental advantage that age provides: perspective. You've lived long enough to know what works and what doesn't. You've experienced enough successes and failures to understand what truly matters. You've had enough relationships to know what creates lasting connection versus superficial attraction. The dating industry wants you to believe that getting older is a disadvantage, that you need to compete with younger men on their terms. This is complete nonsense. You're not competing with younger men. You're playing an entirely different game. While they're focused on surface-level attraction tactics, you have access to deep, lasting attraction principles that become more powerful with age. Dr. Robert Cialdini's research on influence and persuasion shows that authentic authority, the kind that comes from genuine expertise and experience, is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. As an older man who has developed these 7 habits, you possess authentic authority in ways that younger men simply cannot match. The key is understanding that attraction isn't about age, it's about value. And the value you provide as an older man who has developed these habits is incomparable. You offer emotional stability in an unstable world. You provide wisdom in an age of information overload. You bring perspective to people drowning in immediate concerns. You offer genuine connection in a superficial culture. These 7 habits, strategic vulnerability, purposeful leadership, continuous intellectual growth, calibrated confidence, sophisticated emotional regulation, purposeful presence, and legacy thinking, aren't just about becoming more attractive. They're about becoming the best version of yourself. They're about using the advantages that age provides, rather than fighting against them. The research is clear. Women of all ages are attracted to men who possess these qualities. Studies from the Harvard Study of Adult Development, which has followed subjects for over 80 years, consistently show that the men who age most successfully and maintain the strongest relationships are those who develop exactly these characteristics. But here's the crucial point. These habits must be genuine. You can't fake vulnerability or presence or wisdom. The power comes from actually developing these qualities, not from trying to appear as if you have them. This is why these habits become more powerful with age. They require time, experience, and genuine development to master. The beautiful truth is that every challenge you've faced, every failure you've overcome, every lesson you've learned has been preparing you for this moment. Your age isn't something to overcome. It's something to leverage. Your experience isn't a liability. It's your greatest asset. The men who understand this and develop these 7 habits don't just become more attractive, they become irresistible. Not because they're trying to be someone they're not, but because they've become exactly who they're meant to be. They've learned to use their age as an advantage rather than seeing it as an obstacle. This is your time. This is your advantage. The question isn't whether you're too old to be attractive. The question is whether you're wise enough to use the incredible advantages that your age provides. These 7 habits are your roadmap. They're based on decades of research, proven by countless studies, and validated by the experiences of men who have successfully navigated the journey from youth to maturity. The choice is yours. You can spend your energy fighting against age, trying to compete with younger men on their terms, and constantly feeling like you're falling behind. Or you can embrace these 7 habits, leverage the unique advantages that come with experience and wisdom, and become the kind of man that women find absolutely irresistible. Remember, attraction isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity. It's not about having all the answers. It's about having the wisdom to keep asking the right questions. It's not about being the youngest or the strongest. It's about being the most genuine, wise, and emotionally intelligent version of yourself. These 7 habits aren't just strategies for attraction. They're principles for living a life of depth, meaning, and genuine connection. When you master them, you don't just become more attractive to women, you become more attractive to life itself. You become the kind of man who doesn't just get older, but gets better, and that, gentlemen, is absolutely irresistible.